For more on this, let's bring in Vivek Ramaswamy, a biotech entrepreneur and author of the upcoming book, Woke Inc. Vivek, great to have you here. So first up, these parents, they seem to be rising up and speaking up for their kids.
Yeah, they are. But the thing that's, I think, most notable about the story is the fact that no single parent, not a single one of them, was willing to identify themselves and speak out in person. And I think that says something unique, Sandra, about the power structure that's in play today, is that wokeism used to be about standing up to the system. It used to be about challenging the system. Today, it is the system. It is the dominant orthodoxy, and it punishes any defectors from that orthodoxy. And I think that's a really scary moment where we live in, where historically people could have disagreed in the open, but today it is this new culture of fear of losing your job or fear of your own kids getting a bad grade in school that's actually guiding their behavior.
That anonymity, though, to your point about the kids, though, because the kids don't want to be singled out as a result of the parents speaking up. I want to get to now this story about this doctor speaking at the Yale Medical School. It is something to hear, and there's a lot of reaction to it. Let our viewers watch and listen.
I had fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in my way, burying their body, and wiping my bloody hands as I walked away relatively guiltless. With a bounce in my step, like I did the world a favor. White people are out of their minds, and they had been for a long time.
So, Vivek, that doctor, as you just heard in her own words, saying that she has fantasies of unloading a revolver into the head of any white person that got in her way. She went on to say she'd walk away with a bounce in her step and that white people make her blood boil. This school took its time in responding to that. Separate from Yale University, this was specifically the Yale School of Medicine, finally said this in a statement. The School of Medicine leaders reviewed a recording of the talks and found the tone and content antithetical to the values of the school. What is going on, Vivek?
Yeah, well, look, I'm speaking as a Yale alumnus myself, and my wife is a Yale School of Medicine alumnus. We were ashamed when we saw how tepid the school was in its response, how slow they were to be able to step up. Imagine if the person had said the opposite thing about a different race, right? About a minority race, for example. We would have seen a very different reaction. And I think the moment that we live in is one of what I call woke supremacy. Woke supremacy today, I think, is a bigger threat to America than white supremacy, not because one is better or worse than the other, but only one of them, woke supremacy, has taken nearly every institution in our country under its chokehold. Our academic institutions, corporations, nonprofits, you name it. And I think that what we see right now is that is driving a form of first anti-white racism that results then in a quiet backlash of anti-black racism in response, and ultimately heads us down this collision course for a civil war that we're going to have to find our way out of in the hopefully near future.
Despite the sparked outrage, Vivek, that doctor doubled down on TikTok. Listen to this.
You go to the Yale Child Study Center, you'll see that there is a talk released, and you know what's missing from the talk? The name of the title of my talk, which is The Psychopathic Problem of the White Line, and the creator of all of that content, which is myself, 𝙁𝙤𝙡𝙬 𝙑𝙞𝙀𝙀.
I'll let you respond to that, adding that when she opened her initial remarks to that audience, she said, I'm going to say a lot of things and it will probably provoke a lot of responses. And I want you to just maybe observe them in yourself, Vivek. Final thoughts.
Yeah. Well, look, I talked to several of my friends at Yale who are left-leaning about this, and they say that this is clearly a crazy person. She's not representative of what the left or even what the woke movement stands for. But that's an easy alibi. I think it is representative of a new ideology which says that certain forms of even violence are acceptable if it's dressed up in the veneer of progressivism and advancing the right values. And I think that while conservatives are appropriately standing up to this, I think in order to really save the country from this new ideology, we're going to need principled liberals as well, standing up and saying that even if we disagree or we believe that racism is a problem, we cannot tolerate this kind of discourse and, more importantly, this kind of behavior that puts our country on a collision course towards really hard violence, not just words are violence kind of violence, but really inciting violence in ways that I think are unacceptable, even if you are advancing what you see as as worthy or progressive goals.
There's no doubt it was disturbing to hear. Vivek, appreciate you coming on. Thank you. I know you've been talking a lot about that and tweeting a lot about it. Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank
Trace,
you.
it was really something. And what is being called into question, of course, isn't the statement that the Yale School of Medicine put out. It's the time that it took to do so.
Yeah, and it was kind of vague. They said, look, we had to review this. You reviewed it. You just listen to it, and you're outraged immediately. You review it, and then you say it's antithetical to your morals. So it just, it took a while, and it wasn't really very powerful when it was finally given out.